Hello, welcome to another episode of the North Church Paul Revere Lantern. The Paul Revere Lantern had columns on it that had this circumferential design, and that's a pretty unusual design for any lantern and very unique. So this is the first time I've ever tried to develop this type of column, and the Paul Revere lantern was done in tin plate, which is hand dipped tin over steel. So I'm going to show you how I eventually developed a mechanism of doing this. First of all, I cut out on my shear these blanks, which are 9 inches tall and 2 5/8 inches wide. And that would be the developed length that you would have to have. Then, because of the way I manufacture lanterns, I always like to make sure that all my edges are going to be hemmed over or folded over like you see right here, so that you can't get a hand cut from those edges. There's a few places that you are not practical to do, and on the windows, or excuse me, on the doors, I have to fold them on the inside so that the door would be flush. Now, the finish of these will result in a finial on the top and the bottom, so that when you look at them you don't see the opening hole. And on the bottom, of course, these can be used as a support feet. This is a 5/8 inch ball with a 1/8 national pipe thread. So when you put these together, and here's a typical top, you'll get something that looks like this. So the next step after you get the blanks ready to go is to take them and fold them up. And I'll use what I refer to as reverse intuitive bending, which I'll explain as I go through the process. Okay, so the next step is folding over the hems, and I'm currently at my bar folder, and I adjust the hems to be just slightly over 1/8 of an inch. Make sure I always lock this down. Now, the hem is open when you first make it, but I close it by putting it again and then pressing down on it. So that's how that's taken care of. So the next section is put the second bend in, and this is as I get to the intuitive part. And on these, again, you have to keep track of what direction the bend goes in. So I bend it up to approximately 90-degree angle, and then I do the other one the same way. And I should have, this center part needs to be pretty close to 1 inch, which it is, and then a half and a half on each of the legs. So this bend here would actually end up being that bend line right there when I get through running it through my little homemade jig. The next step is the pressing process. And in this process, I've cut out of wood, hardwood, a press bottom die block. And The columns are, the internal diameter is 3/8 of an inch. This is my 12-ton press brake, and the way this proceeds is I put this folded section in here, just like this. And then I put this in the press brake. Now, if I had a real heavy-duty press brake that was hydraulically operated, this is hydraulically operated, but pretty much hand-operated, then I wanted to pay the money to get a machined die, I could do this all in one step, but you know, this is just really a small run of columns, and you can only spend so much on a hobby. So anyway, I think we're lined up fairly well, and as you can see, as I press it down, it starts coming up. I have to make a slight adjustment here. And as you can see, it starts to come up and come up. And the 3/8 inch rod is forced till it bottoms out, and I have resistance. Okay, so now as you can see, I have this, it with a fold in it, so there's one more step before I get to the columns that I need. On this one, it's a door opening, so if you look carefully, you can see this would be the inside of the door because it's cut out, and this would be the outside. Now the last step is to finish the fold so that it's. But being of modest means, one of the things I did was take a piece of hardwood, I cut a 45-degree angle in it, and then routed out this section. And I stick this piece in here. And then I put my 3/8 bar in, and I take a piece of wood that, again hardwood, that I cut a groove in, and I use this as my bending medium. And I'll put this in here like this, and I'll bend it all the way over, take it out, check to see how it is. Pretty close, and that's how you intuitively bend your columns. It took some fiddling around to come up with a way of doing this, and I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. As you can see, the center's pretty decent on this, and this will fit on here. And then I'll put the finial in it, and I can use different types of finials depending on how I want it to look. So that concludes the bending, and I think I did enough for 10 lanterns. You know, Christmas is coming. So, you know, the whole process was probably less than 6 hours. Thank you.